Hey friends, Rick from BCW here with the FAB Breakdown, and in this week's episode, we're going to be breaking down Katsu in Classic Constructed. But before we get into the deck tech, let's talk a little bit about ProQuest. We've completed 2 weeks so far of the ProQuest season with 2 weeks left to go. We've seen the Classic Constructed meta really start taking shape. We have Bravo Star of the Show really still reigning dominance down on the meta, if you will. It was the deck to beat week 1. It came out in large numbers and did exceptionally well. In week 2, though, we saw a trend. We saw fewer Bravo Star of the Shows in some of the ProQuest events, and we saw a rise in Prism. That's a 27 aura package build Prism deck that has a really good, strong game into Bravo Star of the Show. But not to be outdone, we also saw an increase in the number of people playing Viserai with a very aggressive build and an OTK package in the sideboard. Now, Viserai can put out a lot of damage, especially if they're able to keep 4 cards in hand and 1 in arsenal. You might be on the losing end of a go turn if you're not prepared for it. But I think Katsu has game against all of those decks, and we're going to talk about it in the deck tech. Also, after the ProQuest ends, we have SCGCon Indianapolis, which is hosting the Indianapolis Calling for Flesh and Blood. That's going to be a Classic Constructed event starting on March 19th and 20th. And that is going to be a phenomenal event as well. I bet we're going to have a lot of players from all over attending that calling just because it's a chance to get a PTI and go to the Pro Tour if they're not already qualified. Or it's one of the bankable PTIs that you can win, which means if you already are qualified for the Pro Tour via a ProQuest, you get to keep your PTI and use it for another event, like maybe another Pro Tour or Worlds or something requiring a PTI invite. So it's a really great chance to come out and play and be part of the community. On Sunday, they're going to have a Classic Constructed Battle Hardened event as well. That is an event that I probably will be playing in myself. So if you are in town, make sure to say hi if you see me. Would love to meet you, would love to talk Flesh and Blood. And after the Indianapolis Calling is over, we get to go into the Skirmish Season 4 starting on March 26th. Super excited about that. Blitz is one of my favorite formats for Flesh and Blood, and I'm going to share with you guys some deck techs from the Blitz format over the coming weeks. So make sure you tune in, follow, subscribe, make sure that you are paying attention because I'm going to cover some of the top tier decks as well as one of my personal favorite decks to play. So with that said, let's go ahead and have a word from our sponsor, BCW Supplies. Hey friends, Rick from BCW here with the Elite 2 product highlight here. This is going to be a bundle deal and it may save you some money. It's a great convenient way to buy sleeves because you get 100 of the BCW Elite 2 sleeves. You get 100 inner sleeves, a plastic card deck box with divider. And this is a phenomenal way to just sleeve up any deck that you're playing. If you like to double sleeve, awesome. If you don't like to double sleeve, you still get a deck box with divider and 100 of the Elite 2 sleeves, which are my preferred sleeves when I'm playing any game like Flesh and Blood. So head on over to BCW Supplies right now, check out the Elite 2 selection, check out the bundle deal, and make sure you find the color that you like and order yours today. If you're ordering from BCW Supplies, make sure you use the checkout code FAB Breakdown to save an additional 10% off your retail orders. Again, that's FAB Breakdown, and that'll take 10% off your total order at bcwsupplies.com. All right, let's go ahead and get into the deck tech, which you know what that means. We've got to go top down. All right, so here we are with Katsu the Wanderer for Classic Constructed. This has got a 4 intellect and 40 health adult hero. The first time an attack action card you control each turn hits, you may discard a card with a cost of 0. If you do, you may search your deck for a card with combo, banish it face up, and then shuffle your deck. You may play it this turn. So it's very important to remember that it's the first attack action card that you control that hits that is going to allow you to trigger Katsu. You have the option to or not. If you forget to do it and play another attack, you've missed the window, even if that attack hits as well. Just something to keep in mind, but Katsu is a lot of fun to play, and this is a very aggressive deck that we're going to be talking about. Let's go ahead and get into the equipment, if you will. We're going to be playing 2 Harmonized Kodachis. That's right, the weapons of choice. Now, these are a little bit weaker into decks that are playing Rampart of the Ram's Head, just because they can block effectively one of them. But remember, this has go again. It's not like the dash matchup where you've got to constantly put a counter on it, take an action. You're going to attack with one, you're going to attack with another. Now, into the Bravos, into the Oldhams, they can activate Crown, they can activate the Rampart of the Ram's Head. They can block both of these out essentially on one blue pitch. So it is a little bit tougher in that regards, but you can also bait those blocks out if you're trying to force damage through. And we'll talk about why you'd want to force damage through here in just a moment. When we talk about headpieces, there is only one in this build that I'm running, and that is the Mask of Momentum. Now, Mask of Momentum is absolutely huge in this matchup, in my opinion, or in this meta, really, because this is the card that's going to get decks to care about blocking. Whenever, once per turn effect, whenever an attack action card you control hits for the 3rd or higher level chain link in a row, draw a card. So if I play Kodachi, if I swing Kodachi and Kodachi, both of these hit, and then I play an attack action card that hits, I get to draw a card off Mask of Momentum. So a lot of times you'll see people block the second Kodachi. If you go attack with a Kodachi, they'll take it. You attack with the second Kodachi, they'll block it because it's breaking that chain. So just keep that in mind whenever you have a chain link of 3 or higher and it's an attack action card that hits, then you may trigger the Mask of Momentum and draw a card. If they full block one of them, you're not able to trigger it. You've got to start over again, 1, 2, 3. But it absolutely makes people care about blocking, which is part of the reason why I think Katsu's in a really good place right now. When it comes to chess pieces, we have 2 chess pieces to talk about. We have the Hartened Cross Strap and we have the Findel's Spring Tunic. Now, why am I playing these 2? Well, the Hartened Cross Strap is absolutely phenomenal when you're going pure aggression. Being able to destroy it, and the next attack action card you play this turn costs 2 resources less to play. Ideally, you're wanting to use this on something like a Surging Strike line, and you're getting 2 resource reduction on 1 card, where the Tunic is going to take 3 turns to build up to give you a free resource. If your plan is only going to be 4, 5, 6 turns at most, really the Hartened Cross Strap is going to be the way to go. In the longer matchups where you've got to try and slowly build up pressure or slowly whittle through armor and defense reactions and things of that nature, the Fendel Spring Tunic is going to be better to play. I'm going to be starting Harder Cross Strap against a lot of decks. Fendel's really in here for the longer, grindier matchups like Oldham, if you will. All right, when it comes to arms, we have 2 pieces to choose from. We have the Breaking Scales and the No Rune Gloves. Breaking Scales is going to be 90% of your matchups unless you're going up against a Rune Blade. Breaking Scales is going to give you the attack action destroy Breaking Scales target attack action card with combo gains +1. This is how you can kind of get a damage through after blocks or after defense reactions. When they're just exactly blocking, this is something you can always threaten. It does have a block for 1. It is battle worn, so you can block with it before you break it. And then obviously the No Rune Gloves are going to be Arcane Barrier 1 for the matchups where you need to prevent arcane damage. After that, our last piece of equipment is going to be the Snapdragon Scalers. Again, this is a very powerful piece of equipment. Pick your spot correctly to use this. The Snapdragon Scalers as an attack reaction, destroy it, and target attack action card with a cost of 1 or less gains go again. Believe it or not, there are a lot of attack action cards in this deck that cost 0 or 1, so this is perfect for extending turns. I like to leave this around because the longer it's a threat, the more your opponent has to think about if you could give something go again. It's something that they're always having to calculate when they're taking damage. How much damage can you do? And if you have Snapdragon Scalers left, it's great for a bluff, or it's great for applying that last pressure towards the end of the game when you really need them to block. You can force a good card out of their hand by being able to attack, give something go again with Snapdragon Scalers, and then attack again. So that is the equipment. That is Katsu. we're going to go ahead now and get into some of the combo lines in this deck. All right, so here we are with our combo lines laid out. Briefly kind of go through this with you guys and explain some of the cards. Here we have our new combo line out of Everfest. It's the 100 Winds and the Winds of Eternity. 100 Winds is a zero cost attack action card. The red one comes in for 3, the blue one comes in for 1, but it gains +1 if the last card played was 100 Winds. So it is a combo card. It says if 100 Winds was the last attack action card played this combat chain, it gains +1 attack for each other card named 100 Winds you control on the combat chain. So these can get out of hand. You can use Katsu's ability to search for them, and it can get really big. Now, the finisher for this one is Winds of Eternity. It combos if 100 Winds was the last attack action card on the combat chain. Winds of Eternity gains +2, and when it hits, shuffle all cards named 100 Winds you own on the combat chain into your deck. So it is a great way to recycle some cards. You can get a really big turn out of it. It does require a little bit of setup. We're only running the blues, the reds, and then the Winds of Eternity in this combat chain because we have other combat line or other combo lines rather that we care about. Like this one here in the middle, this is the most notable one out of Katsu. This is the Surging Strike combo line. It starts with Surging Strike. We're playing the reds, 2 of the yellows. It goes into the Whelming Gust Wave. Whelming Gust Wave goes into McGinty's Release. McGinty's Release goes into Lord of Wind, and this can put out a lot of damage just from playing this combo line. So Surging Strike cost 2, comes in for 5 or 4. It has Go Again, nothing else. It is the starting point for this combo line. Whelming Gust Wave costs 0, and it comes in for 3 and 1. 3 on the red, 1 on the blue. The yellow would come in for 2. We're not playing it. And it says combo, if Surging Strike was the last card, attack action card played in the combat chain, Whelming Gust Wave gains +1, Go Again, and on hit draws a card. So here is the first area where we can start really drawing cards. Get into McGinty's Release. McGinty's Release costs 1. McGinty's Release is Katsu's specialization. And if Whelming Gust Wave was the last card played, this card gains +1 and Go Again. And on hit, you can search your deck for any number of Lord of the Wind, which are these cards. Put it into your hand. Now, Lord of the Wind is another Katsu specialization. It combos off McGinty's Release, meaning if McGinty's Release was the last card played on the attack action chain, that this card then has the ability to pay X resource points as an additional cost to playing Lord of the Wind. If you do, shuffle X target cards named Surging Strike, Whelming Gust Wave, or McGinty's Release from your graveyard to your deck, and then this card gains +X. Now, that's very important, and I do want to talk about this for just a second here. You can get this to gain a lot of damage, but the cards actually have to be in the graveyard in order for you to pay X. You can't just go get both of these, pay 6, not have anything to shuffle back, and then get +6 on it. It has to already have Surging Strikes, Whelming Gust Waves, or McGinty's Release in your graveyard. Then you can pay for however many cards you have in your graveyard to shuffle them back into your deck. But still, it's a great potent turn. It's a great way to get some blues if you were going to go with a different line. It's just this combo doesn't take a lot of explaining. A lot of people have seen it. All right, next on deck, we have the leg tap combo line. The leg tap combo line is kind of a backup combo plan, if you will, in this deck. We're running 3 red leg taps. We're running 3 red rising knees. We're running 2 blue rising knees, 1 blackout, and 1 hurricane technique. Now, the reason why I have these split off here is these are 2 different finishers, and I'll explain what I mean. Leg tap costs 1. It comes in for 4 with Go Again. That's it. Rising knee gains +2 and Go Again if it is played after a leg tap. Now, you might be looking at this going, why am I only running 3 leg taps? Well, because there's other ways to give this card Go Again that can go into these 2 finishers, if you will. Now, the +2 is awesome and the Go Again is awesome, and you do want to try and line it up. And again, with Katsu's ability, being able to discard a card to go get a missing combo piece. You don't have to rely on so much. If you start with a leg tap, you can go get another piece of the Rising Knee into Hurricane Technique or Blackout Kick. The Blackout Kick is a great way just to finish off and deal 7 damage after a Rising Knee thrust, cost 1. Hurricane Technique costs 1, and if Rising Knee was last card played, then this gains +1. Go again, and on hit it goes to hand, so it goes up to being a 5. Depending on your resources, depending on where you're at in the game, Hurricane Technique is probably going to be the better go-to grab. Blackout Kick is also phenomenal because it's just going to be a 1/4/7 if played in the combat chain. And again, there are other ways to give cards like this, Rising Knee, go again, so it doesn't have to be played after the leg tap. Let's say you play a Razor Reflex into it. Now it's got go again, then you can play the Blackout Kick as a 1/4/7. It's just a way to get a lot of great efficient damage off of it. All right, and the last little combo line we have over here is the Crane Dance into Fine Center. I'm playing 2 and 2 of the blues. They're blue 0 pitches, which is something Katsu really wants to have a lot of in the deck, but it does have some actual utility if you can get it to go off against Visceri when they have a bunch of rune chants built up. Because if you play a Crane Dance, give it go again into a Fine Center, and that Fine Center hits, then you get to create the Zen State token. Now the Zen State token is going to prevent 1 damage from every source until your next turn. Now that's important because those rune chants are independent sources of damage. So this is a nice way to kind of just take a turn off from taking a lot of rune chants. If you notice the Visceri player has built up a lot of rune chants and you have, let's say, the Crane Dance, you might try to force the Crane Dance through and then go get a Fine Center with Katsu's ability and then play it. If it hits, you get to create the Zen State token. Absolutely phenomenal little defense package in there. Not one of the primary combos. These are our 3 primary combos that we're running right here. The major one is going to be this one here, the Surging Strike. It is the most devastating one. Second would be the leg tap, and third we have the 100 Winds and Winds of Eternity. Now, this isn't all the attack actions we have in the deck. Let's go ahead and look at the other attack actions in the deck. All right, so here are the other attack action cards that are in the deck. We have 3 Enlightened Strikes, 3 Snatch, 3 Torrent of Tempo. Enlightened Strike, an oldie but a goodie. It is a 0 for 5. Put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck as an additional cost to play this card, and then you get to choose one. You can either draw a card, give this card go again, or give it +2 damage, making it a 0 for 7. Snatch is a 0 for 4 on hit. It gets to draw a card. Torrent of Tempo costs 1. If Torrent of Tempo hits, it gains go again. There's a lot of shenanigans that can be done with these cards. They're just great tempo cards. They're great on hit effects. Again, we're seeing more draw card like we saw the combo line. We have the Whelming Gust Wave line that can draw cards. We have Snatch that can draw a card. Enlightened Strike can draw cards. Again, part of playing this Katsu aggro shell is being able to put forth a lot of damage. And there are ways to give Snatch go again. There's ways to draw cards and give Enlightened Strike go again. And let's go ahead and talk about that next. We're going to talk about some of the little tricks that you can do with the non-attack or attack reaction cards in the deck. All right, so here are some of the combat tricks that are in the deck. We're running 3 red Razor Reflex, 3 Ancestral Empowerments, 2 yellow, and 3 red, even bigger than that. Everybody knows about Razor Reflex. It costs 1. It gives +3 to a target sword or dagger, or the mode that we're probably going to be using most often in this deck is we're going to be able to give an attack action card that costs 1 or less, +3, and if it hits, it gains go again. So just like we were talking about with Snatch a minute ago, this is a great way to give Snatch go again, plus get the card draw and have something to do with it. Ancestral Empowerment is going to give target ninja attack action card +1, and you immediately get to draw a card. It doesn't matter if it hits or not, you get to draw a card with the Ancestral Empowerment. It replaces itself. It's absolutely phenomenal. Again, Katsu's all about trying to draw those cards and go super wide. Speaking of drawing extra cards, going super wide, this card out of Everfest, the even bigger than that, has been an all-star for this deck. This card is doing a lot of work. So the red allows you to opt 3. The blue allows you to, or the yellow allows you to opt 2. The blue allows you to opt 1. I'm not running the blues. I'm only running 2 yellows. I might up it to 3 yellows, still testing it out. This card is going to help increase the amount of damage you get to do, and let me explain it. It has the requirement that you must have already dealt damage. So you come in with a Kodachi for one, your opponent takes it. You play an attack action card. That attack action card, before it deals damage, as an instant, you can play even bigger than that. So wait to see if your opponent's going to block it. If they're not blocking it, you can play even bigger than that. Even if they are blocking it, you can play even bigger than that. Now, since you've already dealt one damage, you've met the requirement of this, and you're able to opt however many cards, reveal the top card, and if it is an attack action card with power greater than the amount of damage that you've dealt, you get to create a Quicken token and draw a card. So a Quicken token is just going to give your next weapon or attack action card go again. So it's a great way to give things like Rising Knee Thrust that we just talked about go again. So you can go into a Hurricane Technique or a Blackout Kick. See, there are a lot of ways to give additional cards that don't have go again in this deck, and this is a big piece of that. Plus, it's going to essentially let you pick which card you draw by being able to opt. This is a phenomenal package here. I'm absolutely in love with it. Now let's talk about some of the cards that are in the sideboard and or other slots in the deck. All right, so here we are with the last of the deck. We have some familiar faces and maybe some not so familiar faces. So let's start off over here. We have 3 Command and Conquers. Command and Conquer is phenomenal. We're going to bring this in against Prism. Why? Because it can pop auras. We're bringing this in against decks that really need to set up and use their arsenal slot. So we're talking about the Rangers. We're talking about Viscerai. We're going to bring in the Exude Confidence against decks that are going to have a lot of attack, defense reactions, not attack reactions, a lot of defense reactions. And it's just a great way to kind of be able to give it go again off a Quicken token or off of a Razor Reflex and be able to stop your opponent from being able to play defense reactions for that whole chain. So phenomenal card. Bring it in against that. We have the Unmovables. These are coming in for Bravo Star of the Show. Any of the tall decks or go tall decks, definitely bring that in. Flick Flack is our defense reaction we're going to bring in. I really like this card. I like it into the Bravo Star of the Show matchup because it gives +2 to a card with combo to block with. Now, blocking 4, depending on what they're attacking with, isn't a lot, but it's helping preserve your life total. But you're able to then block a Winner's Wail, either outright with just this card or with any card that has combo. And we run a lot of cards that have combo in the deck. So it's going to take it up to like a 5 block. So it's really good to have this in here, in my opinion. It's just guaranteeing that we're not going to get hit with the Winner's Wail on the turn that we play this into one of their attacks that had go again. The last card is the Talisman of Recompense. Now, this is in here for a couple of different reasons. One, I think it's actually playable and helps in some of those all red hands. So this is a new talisman out of Everfest. It has go again. It costs 0. So right there, it's a 0 that can be discarded to Katsu's ability. It's a 0 that can trigger the Kodachis having go again. It generates 2 resources. It doesn't have block, but it has go again. And it says whenever you pitch a card that would gain exactly 1, instead destroy talisman and gain 3 resources. Now, there are times with Katsu where you get an all red hand and this card is able to filter that out. That's one reason why it's in here. It can help with awkward hands. We're real red heavy. We're kind of blue light for a traditional Katsu because we're on the aggressive plan. So this card can come in clutch and be absolutely phenomenal. It's also in here because Tarek made a post on social media saying that he didn't think that there was going to be any talismans or amulets from Everfest in the top 8 of the SCG Con. And I'm putting this out here. This could be a sideboard slot for you. It could just be 1 card in your deck. And if it does, he's got to do the 1-chip challenge and take a shot of hot sauce. So for the trolls, for the laughs, this actually does work well, but you could also just run it to help Tarek lose. If you don't know who Tarek is, he is the U.S. national champion. He put it out on social media, so it's my goal to try and convince everybody playing at SCGCon to play with 79 cards and 1 extra card in your deck, whether it's a talisman or an amulet from Everfest. There are some that are really playable into some of the heroes, and I think this one is actually very playable in Katsu. All right, well, that's going to do it for this FAB breakdown on the Katsu Classic Constructed deck. Until next time, this has been Rick with the FAB Breakdown, reminding you to have fun and be kind.